Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Lee Southwick, and we are getting a check on Debby as of the 11 o'clock advisory. It is still a tropical storm, barely, with sustained winds of 40 miles an hour, and it is about 15 miles south of Savannah, so it's right up on Savannah. It is expected to move out into the Atlantic throughout the day today, and once it does move into the Atlantic and over those warm waters, it will likely start to strengthen some. So the forecast calls for it to actually be a little bit stronger tonight by the 8 o'clock advisory, 8 p.m. advisory. It's expected to have winds back to 45 miles an hour. From there, it will sit over the Atlantic, so you can see the National Hurricane Center does bring those wind speeds up to 50 miles an hour by tomorrow morning, and then by Thursday morning up to 60 miles an hour. But by that point, it will likely be back on land, making landfall again somewhere in South Carolina near Charleston or Myrtle Beach, or right in between the two. And from there, it will continue to move inland over North Carolina and really up the East Coast. The remnants bringing some sort of impact with rain, maybe some wind to places like Philadelphia, New York, and Boston, but that will happen over the weekend. So our concern now, as Debby starts to move off to the east and the northeast, we're going to start focusing on flooding, river flooding, that is. So we're watching places like the St. Mary's River, Black Creek, Santa Fe River, and the Suwannee River. So we are expecting these river levels to continue to rise and continue to swell as we continue to see rainfall to our north, and that rain all drains down into our rivers and our creeks. Here's a look at the current radar loop of Debby, and the worst of the storms still moving through portions of South Carolina, so places like Myrtle Beach getting the heaviest rain right now, but there's still that steady rain that's moving over Charleston with some pockets of heavier rain in there too. So South Carolina getting the worst of the rain now. We still have some rain though. What's not showing up on radar? The mist. A lot of us dealing with misty, gross gray conditions, but we do have some light to moderate rainfall across other portions of the First Coast. Now southeast Georgia, we had been talking about this all morning, that you might get a little bit more rain, the moderate rainfall rates, and that's what's starting to move back across southeast Georgia. So more rain on the way. It's over places like Waycross and to the east, but it looks like it's about to move into places like Folkston, and we'll watch places like Brunswick and St. Simon's Island as well. Wind speeds, we have sustained winds between 10 to 20 miles an hour. We'll say generally that's what we've seen over the past several hours. So sustained 10 to 20, but gusts are stronger than that, getting close to 30 miles an hour. And as for our temperatures, hey, it's only in the 70s, but if you step outside, it's not super refreshing unless the breeze starts to blow, because it's so humid outside. And again, still misting or raining for a lot of us. No surprise, our humidity is through the roof. And look at this time lapse. This is the past 3 hours of downtown Jacksonville. It hasn't shown, our radar hasn't shown showers the entire time, but we've had that mist that has continued. So it's still just a wet, gross, gray day for Jacksonville. Same over in Mayport. We're supposed to get a pretty sunrise with this time lapse, but it's just gray clouds, dreary conditions, showers and mist off and on throughout the entire time. That's the case for all of the First Coast. So as we head through the next several hours, we will continue to see these passing showers, moderate to light showers or misty conditions. Notice that later on into the evening hours, we could get a couple of moderate showers. I'm not expecting anything to be too heavy, but still, we're just not done with the rain yet. That is the takeaway here. More rain, especially for southeast Georgia, but some of that could perhaps pass down into portions of, say, Nassau or Duval County, with light shower activity everywhere else across the First Coast. Even into our Wednesday, most of the day I think will be dry, but we'll see some of these passing showers too, still technically associated with Debby, far outer reaching bands of Debby. Debby churning up the waters, this buoy off of the coast of Charleston here, clocking 15-foot wave heights, and off the First Coast anywhere from 6 to 9 feet when it comes to those wave heights. As for high tide, Brunswick just happened. And then for Jekyll Island, it was earlier. St. Mary's right around now too. So we were watching out for these high tides to be a little bit higher than normal because of the surge possibility along the coast, 1 to 2 feet for the most part. Rainfall totals. We had the most rain over by Live Oak and Lake City, over 10 inches of rain estimated by the radar, but places like Folkston and Waycross have estimated amounts over 5.5 inches. And more of that rain is moving through right now. So we're concerned about that. If we have any flooded roads or just overly saturated land, that rain is just insult to injury. Brunswick, you've had a reported estimated 4.5 inches of rain. Fernandina Beach, almost 3 inches. And across Duval, we go from coastal areas around 2 inches to inland Duval, closer to 4 inches of rain. The least amount of rain, not surprising, has fallen in places like Palm Coast and St. Augustine, which was the forecast. So it was never a big rain event for all of you in places like St. John's and Flagler County. But now, I think as we head through the next several hours and really the next couple of days, I think, again, those areas seeing the least amount of rain. Also, inland places like Lake City, you've had more than your fair share across Columbia County, Union County. Less rain for you all from Columbia down to Flagler. Notice the higher rainfall totals over the next 5 days falling over southeast Georgia. Again, no surprise there. That's where we're going to see more of those rain bands wrap on in from Debby. As Debby continues to move up the east coast, the most amount of rain falling between South Carolina and North Carolina because Debby will be so slow moving again there on their coast as it tries to swing back out to the Atlantic and then make another landfall. And more rain all the way up through the Boston area as Debby tracks up the east coast. So tropical alerts now, tropical storm warnings extend from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way down to our coastal areas. So we're not technically under a tropical storm warning on land. It's those coastal areas in the water. You have the tropical storm warning because of the stronger winds that will be along the coast and the higher seas there too. So county by county, Duval County, we are expecting up to 1 inch of rain total for the day today, and your winds sustained max 20 miles an hour, maybe a gust of around 40. So far, we've only seen about 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So just take it slow on the roads. It's slick out there still, a little bit of reduced visibility at times. Then for Flagler and St. Johns County, same story, just a little bit of rain passing on through, totaling up to about 1 inch of rain. Winds sustained around 20 gusts, maybe getting up to 35 miles an hour. So stay informed and stay safe on the roads there. Same for Clay and Putnam. Light rain totaling up to about 1 inch of rain, but we are watching Black Creek in Clay County. So be aware of that creek water. Middleburg, Penny Farms, that's where we're seeing moderate, at least moderate flood stage there. Now for places like Glenn, Camden, and Nassau counties, we'll watch for more rain for you all. Again, we have that moderate rain now already moving through some of the southeast Georgia. So additional rain 1 to 3 inches total for the entire day today. Winds sustained could get up towards around 30 miles an hour, especially if Debby starts to strengthen a bit over the Atlantic. You might get some of these stronger gusts getting close to 50 miles an hour, and we'll still watch out for that surge. Then Ware, Charlton, Brantley, and Pierce counties, same thing, an additional 1 to 3 inches of rain. Sustained winds around 20, gusts perhaps up to 40 miles an hour. 30 to 40 for the most part. For Baker, Union, Bradford, and Columbia counties, we're expecting less than 1 inch of rain total. Just some light showers moving through today. Sustained winds up to 20 miles an hour, gusts up to 45 miles an hour. So here's a look at what one model is saying where Debby could go. It could continue to wrap those rain bands into portions of southeast Georgia and some portions of northeast Florida, but the heavier rain staying mainly over South Carolina and then North Carolina. This model does show Debby going out over the Atlantic, trying to organize again, bringing some heavier rain bands to the Carolinas, while we could see some of that light rain wrap back on in over the first coast into Wednesday. By Thursday, though, it really tries to start to get out of here and lift through North Carolina. So for us, what we are expecting beyond today is drying conditions. So on Wednesday, we're going with a 40% coverage of rain, and that means our temperatures are going to bump up a little bit. So remember, we just checked those temperatures, 70s getting into the 80s today, staying in the 80s tomorrow, but then by Thursday, with even drier conditions, our temperatures will likely jump back to near 90 degrees. And then from there, we're going to see those temperatures continue to rise until we're back in the middle 90s. So by this weekend, we are expecting a very typical summer-like day for southeast Georgia and northeast Florida. Scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon and early evening, and temperatures again sitting in the middle 90s. So the heat will return. So before I go, I just want to give you one last look at the cone of Tropical Storm Debby as of the 11 o'clock advisory. Yes, still a tropical storm, if barely, with sustained winds of 40 miles an hour, but it is expected to strengthen a bit as it starts to move towards, it's moving towards the Georgia-South Carolina border, and it is expected to head out into the Atlantic before wrapping back in to South Carolina and North Carolina, and then bringing a lot of heavy rain for them. For us, more of that rain today across the first coast. Highest rainfall totals likely falling in southeast Georgia, up to 3 inches more total, but we are really expecting about an inch total for generally speaking, across the first coast when it comes to the rain today, because most of it is light, but we'll watch out for that moderate rain as well. I'm meteorologist Lee Southwick. Thanks for joining us.
This has been a First Coast News on Your Side special report, Tracking Debby.